to call you Pepe?
Call me Joe.
Joe? All right. Hello, everybody. I'm here with Joe from Pepe and the Bandits. Today's guest, welcome to everybody. So, as we were saying before we started off, your music's incredibly eclectic. What do you think is behind that?
I think it's like we were discussing mine. It's influences, isn't it? I'm just so influenced by my youth, the Prodigy, a lot of trance music. I listened to masses of trance music when I was younger. Apparently I had a really good youth. Can't remember a lot of it, but someone told it was very, very good. I was very fortunate that one of my best friends, he was a manager for a band called Shades of Rhythm. He only had a couple of hits over here, but good band, good gigging band. And they used to work a lot with Prodigy. So when I was young, in my early teens, we used to be dancers for the Prodigy. Basically, we just used to get in. So we used to travel with them and just get into clubs and listen to the music. And obviously that has left a mark on me with my interest in certainly in that side of music. A bit later on in life, I got interested in playing guitar. It is true what I said on my website. I actually found a guitar. I didn't play guitar. I found a guitar in a skip, which is gospel truth. And someone was going to throw it away. And I said, no, don't throw it away. This was in my late 20s, early 30s. Never played an instrument before that. So I got some lessons, got it restrung, obviously, got some lessons. And then obviously, since then, I then became influenced in acoustic guitar music.
Isn't that absolutely fascinating? It's like the guitar found you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't listening to guitar-based music in my 20s. It was all electronic, music, and that's where it was. But it's weird how that. I tell you, who was a big influence on me. I'm not sure if you're aware of him, and that was a chap called Jennings.
Okay, no.
He's an American, and he just really sort of alternative folk. Him and his guitar, very raw, great songwriter, really good songwriter. And I was really influenced by his music. And if it wasn't for him, I would never have picked up a guitar, ever. Simple as that, because I listened to the music, loved it, went to see him, and I missed him by a few. He came out of a gig, and I got eye contact with him, and he looked a bit panicked. And I thought, I'm not going to approach him. And he went one way and I went the other. And then years later, obviously, I've got this guitar, I've had lessons, I've definitely influenced my acoustic music is influenced definitely by him, very much so, that alternative folk sort of side of stuff. And I emailed him just to say, that I'd met him at this point, and he never replied. So it was a bit of a shame. It'd have been great if I said, he replied or whatever, but he didn't.
Yeah. Well, what did they say about never meeting your heroes?
Well, yeah, I didn't. I mean, I've seen him and Jack Johnson. I saw as well, because he used to be on the same record label as Jack Johnson in London at Hyde Park with G-Source, someone in G-Source, Special Love and G-Source or something. They were again, it was great stuff. They were great. They were all supporting each other at the time. They were probably about 20 years ago, maybe.
Right.
And there was a whole sort of movement going on that were all supporting each other under the Bushfire Records. Really good stuff. Really good. But yeah, it is strange, isn't it? How, as we said, the influences I said about your music, with I could pick out Talking Heads straight away. I could hear it. Yeah. And the synths as well. You can hear that a mile off.
Yeah. Well, part of that is just laziness. I'll find the first pre-programmed sound I like, and I'll just stay with it, or play around with it a little bit. Mostly delay. I love playing with delay. And because I find you can add a really rhythmic element to things, or ARP. Anything to do with arpeggiation, I find is really sort of a fun thing. But it's partly because I don't really play an instrument, right?
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, I play a little bit of piano as well. I say a little bit. I'm all self-taught on all this. I mean, I say self-taught. I did have lessons with the guitar, but I haven't had any piano lessons. So I've got a small MIDI keyboard, and I connect that up to Studio One which again opens a door, doesn't it?
Oh, no, definitely. No, my latest thing is much more MIDI. Yeah, and I have a piano, and I can pluck out chords and do little lines and things, and and it's a fun thing. So tell me, once you started getting more into guitar music, I'm imagining that you started listening to a lot of people out of, let's say, trance or electronica, that were more singer-songwriters.
Yeah, absolutely. People like Eels.
Who do you think influenced you the most when you started sort of digging into the past? Because there were some greats in the 70s. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I struggle a bit with that though. I mean, I do listen to older music now.
Yeah,
not as much as I listen to new music that influences my stuff now.
Yeah,
but I would say there was certainly, I was listening then probably to people like the Eels, the Flaming Lips. And again, they've probably got a little bit of electronica bass to them as well, haven't they? So as well as the guitar rock sort of thing. So, I was probably transitioning at that point into, pure acoustic. And I've never played an electric guitar.
No.
Never played an electric guitar, no. If ever I've used one in my music, it's a sample that I've messed around with, because I don't know why. I really should pick up an electric guitar, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, or just start looking in Kips.
I did say that with a piano. I looked for years, Martin.
Piano, I wouldn't take one that had been thrown out.
If I did, I wasn't going to get it out.
Retune. But a guitar, although it's interesting because that's my next musical project. At some point, I've decided I'm going to buy a guitar, and you can get fabulous, like really good starter electric guitars for like $100 these days. There's some really good Chinese ones.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's worth it. And what's nice too is you just get a little, you get a little digital analog, whatever it is that you put into your computer, and you plug it in. You don't even need an amp.
Yeah. What software do you use, Martin?
For my DAW, you mean my digital? Audio workstation? I'm a big fan of Reaper.
Okay. Yeah, I have used Reaper before. Yeah.
Yeah, I find it. I just started on it because it was free. Well, I paid the license afterwards because I get all the updates.
Yeah.
And it's well worth it for $60 for a lifetime license. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And what I find is it's just very. It's not bare bones. It's fully functional, but it's very stable, and it doesn't take up a lot of space or a lot of power, so you don't have to spend a lot of money on computers to run things.
Yeah.
And most of the stuff anyway that you're getting, I'm downloading for free. It's all VST plugins, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or you're buying them or whatever, and that'll run. Reaper runs with that, no problem. That's completely compatible with everything.
Well, when I was doing my basic, writing, picking up a guitar, singing a ballad, Reaper was fine. I had no issues with it, no issues with my computer. I don't think the recording was particularly good, and I wasn't getting it mixed and mastered or anything like that. So the quality, I don't think, was probably as good.
Yeah, well, the mixing and mastering is a whole art onto itself. I find mine's gotten a lot better since I ended up getting Ozone. Well, Ozone, which is part of the whole Isotope, recording suite.
Yeah, I spoke with John Ritchie. He's a big John Mickey.
Yeah, he's the one who sort of got me into it, and I bit the bullet. It's pretty pricey, but I have to say it was a quantum leap better. The only thing, it's funny because I'm trying to decide what I'm going to release next, and I have all of this old stuff that I never really, you know how you sort of. I released a single from it, which I thought was the best, which was Barbarians from that period.
Yeah.
But I've got all kinds of stuff, and it's all very electronica. And it sounds, and I'd mixed it, and I was going to release it, and then I didn't, and I released the other thing instead. Because I'm always having 3 or 4 projects on the go at the same time. I don't know about you. It's sort of how it works, right? And you put things down, and I'm almost thinking I'm going to release a record because there's about 12 tracks that I have. So it's sort of, maybe I'm just going to release an album of that stuff while I continue working on my new project where I'm actually working with Bob with Rebel Tramp.
Oh, okay.
Who's a very good electric guitarist. and we started writing songs together. And I got him into help with my new record, and and then we started composing together. So I'm sort of thinking, let's take time, write some more songs, and have a more coherent thing. And the other stuff I'll release in the meantime as sort of a nostalgia compilation. And just get all the unreleased stuff out at once. I was listening to it, and it's like, this sounds really good. And the funniest thing about it is I recently gave up. I had a subscription for this service. It's like an online mastering program that's called Sound. What is it called? Cloud Bounce.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have heard.
It's the Abbey Studio people.
Yeah. I've used.
They have all the emulations from their old effects and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And what's funny is, it's like I was listening to it all, and I'm sort of thinking, I gave up the subscription, but I'm sort of thinking, you know what? Maybe I should have kept it, because I don't know what it is, but they're really good at punching the sound up.
Yeah.
So that it'll sound good on this. I'll always use this as one of my last means of seeing how good a song is mastered.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And it's sort of like, with Isotope, I like the overall thing better. It's a lot easier to do the mixing, but you still get these weird things. Or I don't know about you, I find the most interesting one is, and it's probably different because my music tends to have a lot of dynamics.
Yeah.
But what I found that's funny is some songs, that sort of nanny state in the telephone will kick in and lower the volume. In the middle of a song when you're playing it on the speaker and things like that, or it'll do it with the earbuds as well. I don't know if you've noticed that. And part of that is just, it's like there's a problem with the master, right?
Yeah.
Because you're peaking too high somewhere, but you can't basically hear it, right? It's sort of outside of our range, or outside of a range of someone who went to concerts in their 20s and 30s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, I was a speaker hugger. I used to just hug speakers.
Oh my God, I'm surprised you're not with two hearing aids at this point.
Yeah, like this. Yeah,
exactly.
Sound Lab's very similar. I use that sometimes. I'll master in Sound Lab. Mix it in studio. I sold my piano, and then I bought the PreSonus audio box to be able to plug things in. It got come with a microphone and some other bits and bobs, the monitor speakers. And then my son was after it. He's a big gamer, so he was selling his PC. So I snapped that off him because it was only about a year old. Yeah. And then I built him a new one just before COVID hit. So we was able to get the bits. And that thing we built in could have taken over the world, because this one here is really good. But I needed it when I was then starting to slip into that electronic side of things, especially with samples and bits and bobs, because it soon starts eating up your memory, doesn't it? You do need a good PC for that, especially because I quite like doing my videos to it as well. I quite like putting videos together and then putting them out on YouTube. And again, that's memory.
I find videos, that's the real data hog. Because I've got a couple of, I've got this channel and I've got a second internet YouTube channel as well. And I've done a lot of, I bought one of those gimbals and I go out and I film a lot, and and I found you're transferring around like 20, 30, 40 gigs of data, and it gets crazy after a while.
I've lost interest in YouTube. It's really odd because I only had a couple of hundred followers, and I said to my wife, I said, I've got a couple of hundred followers. I really should be working hard on that. So I put out some really good video content, did work hard on it. I've now got to 993 or something. I only need 7 more to kind of start the monetization of it, if I can get enough viewings on it.
It's 4,000.
I thought it was 1,000.
Oh no, it's 4,000. It's 1,000 and
4,000 hours.
Yeah.
4,000 hours, 1,000 subs.
Exactly.
I'm pretty, the views of, I've only got to chuck out a couple of decent videos, and those hours will go up quite quick with the subs. But I've kind of lost interest with it, weirdly enough.
I think it matters. Like I decided to start this channel, and I formatted it in a way that wasn't going to eat up a lot of time. You know what I mean? Like it's minimally produced. But that was by intention, because I knew that, the time you can put in to do a video it can eat hours, but I love doing it. So, I've got another channel that's sort of travel, and it's turned into travel and architecture, I guess, are the two themes, which are sort of interrelated, right? And I just did a video over there that I spent a fair amount of time on, but it's like a video essay. But what was fun is I got to mix the sound to it and do the whole soundtrack, and I threw in an ambient piece of music that I'd done. And I had a lot of fun with it, because I was sort of stretching the artistic end, and then, you had to write a coherent sort of script for it and narrate it and whatever. And it was a good break, but I wasn't doing it with it intending to get viewers, but it's done very well.
That's
and
good.
It's got me, it's got that channel over 100 subscribers, which is a big milestone.
Yeah, absolutely.
The first ones are the hardest. What I find is it's always hard at the beginning because the algorithm's against you. But what I notice is the channels that are successful, you find out about them when they're 3-4 years into it. Generally, and then they're exploding by then. And all you end up needing is 1 or 2 videos that go really viral for whatever reason, and you gain, you'll go from 1,000 to 10,000. A lot quicker than you're going to go from 100 to 1,000.
Yeah, we're up against it there though, Martin, because when you look at, there's not many artists that are getting that. If I create a channel on showing someone how to make a music video, I can guarantee that's going to go better than it is me producing and uploading my music video. People are more interested in that kind of finding out about things, aren't they, than the actual, because there's so much out there, you just get lost. But I have gone to a good art now of doing the keywords and looking at the metadata. I mean, the whole thing is hard, isn't it? The whole social media, because I am a one-man band. As you know yourself, to actually,
as I am, exactly.
Keep the social medias alive, keep Twitter, keep Instagram, posting on TikTok, creating my videos, mixing, mastering, writing a song, playing it, recording it. Wow. I get to the gym, but other than that, I don't do a lot else. I walk the dog occasionally because there isn't enough hours in the day to keep all that going. And I suppose the bigger you get and the more you get. I have outsourced some bits and bobs as I've got a bit more cash for things. I've kind of outsourced bits, but I am a little bit of a control freak, so I kind of do like doing it as well anyway. But unfortunately, don't always have the time.
Yeah, but I think you have to release control. It's like with this channel, I think there's enough content now. I'd love to find someone to do a clips channel of it, because there's all these little bits that would be quite fun to release 4 or 5 minutes long type thing. As well, I've gotten to some very interesting discussions, musical discussions. No, it's true, But the problem is I just don't have the time to go through all the content. You wade through it and then find the little 4-minute clip and do the whole production around it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, time, is not our friend most of us.
Time, but if any of the listeners is hearing, reach out, and I'll talk, because I'm definitely looking for someone to do that.
And also if someone wants to take over my social media. And I've got some ironing.
Social media is a bit different. This at least would be fun.
And I've got some ironing to do as well, Martin. If anybody wants to do a bit of ironing and maybe a bit
ironing, exactly, some cleaning. I don't really like doing the bathrooms much. It's a hard game, but you know what? I at one point I realized I enjoyed doing it, and that's why I do it. I'm not doing it for anyone else but myself. And especially with this channel, what I found is it's given me an excuse to have something to post on Twitter. Where I'm not really, I'm promoting this other thing, and I'm also meeting all kinds of musicians, and that's a lot of fun. And once I have a little bit more energy and time, what I'd also like to do, and I've started thinking about it, is another show that would be more getting a few people on to discuss a specific album. And then sort of argue about it, right? Hopefully people with various views or so, and talk about music in the same way that people talk about other things.
Football, or wrestling or whatever it is.
Exactly. But do it with music, and
Yeah,
because I'd be interested to see, you know, get into it, because some of the more interesting discussions I've had on this channel is talking about musical influences, and you find people, it's like, oh, you're a big fan of, you know, and you get really into the weeds, right? But that's half the fun of it.
Yeah, well,
you know, I could listen to 3 hours talk, like 3 hours well-researched, intelligent talk about the recording of, you know, Ziggy Stardust. I'd love to hear more about that. You know, but I'm a junkie for any musical documentaries, interviews, all that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
You know,
well, there's plenty of stuff like that on Netflix and Amazon Prime and that nowadays,
and YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely, you know? Yeah.
So
other channels are available. Martin, what part of Canada are you from?
Well, I'm currently in Toronto.
Okay.
So
because the reason I asked, my mum's Canadian.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, yes. She is. Yeah. She came over when she was. She's 89 now, so she was 5 years old or something. Come over to the UK.
Yeah.
But from Abbotsford, which down in Vancouver Island,
British Columbia.
British Columbia, yeah. So I've never been to Canada, but that is
the British Columbia is on the other side of the continent,
right?
In the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
And it's the rainforest, the you know, like the big redwood trees and all that.
Yeah, beautiful.
It's definitely absolutely beautiful. It's by far the prettiest part of the country. Yeah. And as someone from England, you'd love it because it rains all the time.
Yes. Yeah, it'd be ideal.
Yeah.
I've already got the clothes, haven't I? You see?
Exactly. But no, listen, you should visit Canada. There's geographically, it's beautiful, especially if you're looking for nature.
Yeah.
You can easily get to a part of Canada where there's not going to be another soul around you for hundreds of miles. Cool. When you get up north into the bush. Of course, you're going to be in the middle of the bush, right?
Yeah.
So well, that's with bears and moose and deer and, you know, wolves and God knows what else.
That's our next holiday.
So good. No, definitely.
We've got a dog. We don't really want to leave the dog, and we've said we're going to go for 3 weeks. So as soon as anything happens to the dog, it doesn't mean that we can smother or anything like that. But we're going to be looking at, you know, probably 3 weeks, even a month's holiday over there. So
I would say the more take as much time as you can take.
Yeah.
Because once you're to give you an idea, Montreal and Toronto. I grew up in Montreal. I live in Toronto. They're the two largest cities, right?
Yeah.
And it's about a 6-hour drive from one to the other. And this is in the most populous part of the country.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You know, if you're going to travel to BC from Toronto driving, you're talking 3-4 days.
Yeah. Wow.
You know.
Okay.
Well, it's like it'd be going from England to Russia, basically, right?
Yeah. Well, we don't
those kind of distances.
That's the last place I want to be at the minute.
Well, I was just saying geographically, not talking about politics, but you know, just in terms of the geography.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, so it's interesting. Did you get into any of the 70s people at all musically? Will you see it? You said.
Do you know what? I'm not the greatest fan of the 70s.
Yeah. No. Well, there was some interesting stuff, and I asked because I can hear influences that you might not even know you have.
Oh yeah, because I've got older brothers and sisters, you see, so there's quite possibility, you know. Yeah. I mean, when would the Rocky Horror Picture Show been around? When would that?
76.
Okay,
75.
so I mean,
well, it matters that it started earlier because it was a big sort of indie hit first, right?
Yeah, so I mean that album I have probably heard from my brother more than most albums that I've ever heard, you know. So, and my sister as well. So, you know, she'd have been a big
but that's an odd fish of an album.
Yeah.
Because it's almost nostalgia for the 1950s type thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of it in show tunes, and it's a great record. You know, it's too bad that was pretty well the only thing that they did.
Yeah.
But no,
big fan of that.
Yeah, no. It's I mean, there was a lot of good stuff. You know, the one that I can't get out of my mind, and I never liked, but my sister played incessantly, was Grease.
Okay, yeah, Grease
and
again.
That was also filled with very good tunes.
Yeah, great film. You know, absolutely great film. There's no doubt about it. You know, and a dance floor filler, isn't it? You know, weddings and etc. You know, it's
everyone knows. Yeah, there's.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. Without a doubt. You know, if you had a few drinks, everyone's up there singing. You know, aren't they?
Yeah, well, either of them. I listen. I can remember years ago. I had the fortune of doing a ski season in Austria. I worked it as a guest worker.
Right.
And because I was the only Canadian in town, they gave me the job of running the ice skating rink. And there was this sort of hotel inn not far away from it that had a bar that let in the public. And it was specifically catering to early 20s, mostly from London, people who would come down on a ski package, right?
Yeah.
So there was like bunk beds, and I guess it included your ski pass, and it wasn't, and then they had this absolutely crazy pub in the what would have been where they kept all of the all of the herd of their animals. Because what they did in Tyrol, it's quite ingenious. They put all of their cattle under the house.
In
a sort of semi-basement. Yeah. And let the heat of that help heat the house in winter, right? Which makes perfect sense, right?
Yeah, I've seen other tribes in that do that before in colder climates like the Andes and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was this big, enormous open room on the bottom of the Hof, the big sort of hotel farmhouse, whatever it was, and they had absolutely the craziest, every night jam packed. People absolutely, like, this is Greece type levels of crazy, right?
Yeah.
And the highlight of every evening was all of the staff would get up onto the bar, and the whole place would sing Time Warp.
Oh yeah,
Rocky Horror Picture Show, right?
Yeah.
They would come on, and the place would just go absolutely bad.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've been in clubs where it's been massive. It's as big as anything, So I suppose when you think of it like that, the 70s, I suppose, there's things in there that's unconsciously has certainly influenced me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wouldn't say I listen to a great deal of it now. Really, I don't really tend to go back to it as such. Although I know a lot of the Rocky Horror Picture Show is on my Spotify playlist. It definitely is. There's a lot of stuff on there. There's a lot of 70s stuff. It's quite trendy now, isn't it, as well, to kind of dip back into that kind of era on the silver screen a little bit. I'm trying to think of the recent space films that they've had where he has the iPod that he puts on. I can't think what the guy's name is.
Those are the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy, of course, which is a great 70s spin-off. A lot of that music, isn't it? Mm-hmm. I've listened to the soundtracks a couple of times and bits and bobs, and they're all bangers, absolutely, aren't they?
Oh yeah, well, they were all most of them were number one hits, right? Which is why they went into the sort of consciousness of everybody, because everyone heard them so many times back when there was radio.
Yeah,
I don't know if that would happen anymore. Almost, I guess it would be from the movies now more than anything else, right? But because you don't really have that same
music's
sort of radio that
weak.
Was.
Music's pretty weak nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's become too atomized, I think, is the problem, right?
Sometimes I'm listening to it on the radio. I mean, we have a radio station called Radio 1, which is kind of the hip, trendy station that most people can listen to. And I can't listen to it for long. Because it just drives me insane. I like melodies. I like something melodic. So when you're starting to get something trap and it's not melodic in any way, and then they've got somebody who hasn't even got an half-decent voice, and they've kind of put them two together, something non-melodic and someone who can't sing. And it's, it's literally, it can make my ears bleed. It's awful. And I think no one's going to remember this I'm not going to remember it in an hour, let alone most people 10, 20 years later.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not all music, is it? So, there are some good bands and there are some good stuff out there. So I'm generalizing, obviously, but some of it I think is atrocious.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like when the 60s was around, you looked at the charts and you had, there was a little bit of samey going on, wasn't there? There was a lot of people doing the same thing, but they're all famous in their own rights. I don't know. So,
yeah, no, I think, look, the 60s, the 70s, there was a lot of great stuff in the 70s. The 80s were fine. 90s, through the 90s, it was fine. Even up into the early 2000s.
Yeah.
But I think with the sort of downloading, the Napster totally changed the record industry. And the problem with it now is that they're not making the money they were making.
No.
You have to think in the 1980s, the sort of Tina Turner era, right? David Bowie, the sort of Let's Dance, they were selling unbelievable amounts of music at that point. They were rolling in money. And now they're maybe making 1/10 of that if they're lucky. So what's happened is it's like movies. You know, no one takes a chance anymore. There's no artist development whatsoever. And from what I can understand, I mean, the stars are basically, they're all on lease, right?
Yeah.
You know, they choose someone who is, you know, has the right look, and you know, and then they, you know, they use them up, so they get the fancy car and the apartment and the sort of Instagram lifestyle for the length of the hit, and then they're kicked out. You know, they're kicked out, and they're as poor as they were when they started.
Yeah, it's that throwaway culture, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know,
but it also, they're not even, you know, they don't own the songs. They're on a salary more or less, and the carpet then gets pulled up at the end, right? Because by then it's the next one who's come out, you know. But I mean, that's always been around since
without a doubt,
in Pan Alley. But it's just, there's nothing beyond that, and you don't have those great producers or record labels like there were years and years ago, like in the 60s, like Columbia or Atlantic, you know, where they had these charismatic, or even Geffen, where you had these charismatic figures who believed in an artist, let them fail 2 or 3 albums, and then one of the greatest works in, you know, music comes out.
Yeah, that's not going to happen now.
No, and that's why it's all garbage.
Yeah.
Outside of the indie stuff, there's a lot of interesting things, you know, that aren't getting heard because there's almost too many of us. But I think you got to do it for your own reasons.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
If you have success, perfect, great. But, you know.
Well, I always think it's funny, Martin. Can you imagine? So someone comes to me. I've spent 20 years now messing around with music, writing lyrics, writing songs, doing bits and bobs. Someone comes to me. I've got, you know, a certain back catalogue. Someone says, wow, Pepe and the Bandits, we're going to take 7 or 8, 9, 10, 15, probably 20 songs now they like on an album, don't they? Take your 20 songs and we're going to get it out there. And Pepe and the Bandits is massive. And then within about 6 months, they're back to me saying, we need another 20. And I'm going to be like, I need another 20 or 30 years, I'm afraid. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because some people, they just churn them out, don't they? But there's a lot of bands out there that have gone through it. I always think like people like Razorlight and things like that. I thought they were going to be huge. I thought they were going to be the biggest band ever. And they've been going quite a while.
Yeah.
But they obviously hadn't got much more material that was quite up to the standard of that album, you know. So they were always going to lose, you know. So I think it's a difficult industry, isn't it? I like
listen, it's like being a YouTube creator.
Yeah.
You get onto this grind and you're feeding the machine, right?
Yeah.
You know. And but it is what it is. You know, I think what I find is, you know, there's a certain liberation to not having anyone tell you what to do.
Yeah.
You know, and you just do what you want, and we're lucky enough we can actually get it distributed now.
Yeah.
So that people who want it can hear it. Yeah. And that in its own is really good. And, you know, who knows? And if, you know, I mean, myself, I'd love someone to come and say, hey, I really like this song. We're going to cover it. It's like, perfect. Where do I sign?
Yeah, that is my whole purpose. I don't see myself as a great singer. I don't see myself. I'm certainly not a great guitar player. And I'm definitely not a decent piano player.
Yeah.
But I do have an understanding of music, melodies, and that kind of helps, doesn't it? But my idea is someone to go and make something with this, go and do, you know, if somebody wants to take one of my songs and use it, ideally I'd like some sync licensing. I think that would be great.
Yeah.
I'd love that, to get on a film, get on a TV show, something like that. I would certainly feel, I wouldn't say my work was done, but I would feel very, very, I got a semi-finalist UK singer-songwriter award, which I was really, really pleased with.
Congratulations. That's great.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and it really did mean a lot, that did.
Yeah.
You know, okay, so the semi-finalist didn't win it, but, you know, I'm not been trained to be a songwriter. You know, that's just something that I have put my poetry down onto paper and made it into song by putting chords to it and things like that. So, you know, that did mean a lot. And a lot of my best stuff is definitely written in kind of times of crisis. I think I like a good sad song anyway at the best of times. You know, so if I was actually going to write a song, very rarely is it going to be an upbeat, happy number. It'll be to do with something that's happened.
I never would have guessed from your back catalog.
It's usually a bit sad and a bit drastic,
yes.
you know. So, and that's, I think, you know, I find it hard to write. I did write a love song for my wife. I wrote one love song for her because I said I'd do it. I'm not. I think it's okay. It's not brilliant, you know, but it was a love song that I wanted to write for the wife. So I said I'd do what I did. But I find it hard to write happy songs. Instrumentally, not a problem. Like Yay Ha, for example. I don't know if you heard that.
Yes, yeah.
It was like, you know, I wanted to write something Paul Simon. I was going to put some lyrics to it. It just went off at a tangent and I ended up with, you know, Frankenstein's Monster. But I really liked it. It's quite an upbeat, happy track. If I put lyrics to it, it's only going to bring it down, Martin. It's going to be depressing. You know, I have a bit
well, it sounds like you need an occasional collaborator to do the lyrics.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, do you know, I've never done a collaboration.
You've never done a collaboration?
Never done a collaboration. Never.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I find it a good way to actually, if you have an idea in your head, or actually more than that, a musician whose work you like.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I can't play guitar, so I'll ask a guitarist. I like their work. I let them do what they want. I don't make any, you know, I don't tell them what to play.
No.
And I take and I edit what I like, and that's the deal. You know, and everyone.
I just find that hard. I find that
really.
hard.
I find that it's really funny. I'd almost like to do a project. I'll have to talk to Bob about it at some point. I'd almost love to do a project where I'd receive guitar, and I would re-edit it, and rearrange the song.
Okay.
You know what I mean, and totally do something with it. Might be fun. Might be something fun to do with you. You know, with acoustic. Because it's all electric guitars.
Yeah. Well, I could certainly.
But to do something sort of
send you some electric, some acoustic guitar.
Yeah, exactly. You know, something a little glitchy, and you know.
Yeah.
And then we can turn it into some sort of trip. You know, whatever.
There's times when I want to make some, and I do try all the time to bring my guitar into the electronic and try and merge that kind of trance. Music that I like and create alongside, but it never ever actually works whenever I try it.
Yeah,
you know, so it always tends to go off somewhere else into another thing, and you know, and that's the way it is. But I think it's a control thing, Martin. Like I said to you before, I'm a bit of a control freak.
Yeah.
So
which is why something like this would be perfect. You just give me something, and I would give you something back.
Yeah. Okay.
You know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see what we can do, because I've got a bit like you. I've got a whole drive of things I haven't released.
Yeah, I've got all kinds of stuff. And the other thing is, I've just started a project. I'm composing more ambient stuff again.
Oh, okay.
Which I really quite like. Well, I got into that because I just wanted a soundtrack for the videos I was doing.
Yeah.
And you know,
I'm interested in hearing that.
What's that? Yeah, no, well, my other channel, it's called Planning My Escape.
Okay.
And there's a whole bunch of stuff, and some of it's really interesting. It was all sort of architectural stuff I did, or just, you know, just weird stuff where I had all this video using this gimbal, and I'd go around on my bicycle with the gimbal and sort of have these slow sort of, you know, moving through situations, and then you'll, you know, do some shots of various things and parks and architecture and whatever, without any narration or anything like that. And then I just started composing music to it.
Oh, that's quite
and
nice.
Some of them are really quite magical, you know what I mean? And that was what I was going for. I was going for these sort of dreamy, you know, these dreamy sort of soundscapes and stuff. And I'll send you the link afterwards.
Yeah, definitely do, because
on Twitter, and you can take a look.
I kind of dip in and out of lo-fi sometimes. I quite like listening to a bit of that, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, my music taste is so it's even more eclectic than my music. It's quite scary. The only things I don't like is, as I say, is some sort of, I don't know, acid jazz that's gone off at tangents that I can't even hear any music. They're all playing different musics at different times. You know, and I think I'm a little bit on the spectrum, maybe, you know, aren't we all? And that will just drive me insane. But you know, if it's melodic, I'll give it time of day. So that can be anything from, you know, 40s musicals, can't it, up to, you know, thrash metal, which can still be, you know.
Listen, ragtime is great. There's some fantastic stuff in the stuff in the 1920s when they were inventing jazz is just, you know, or early folk music, you know, all the Americana stuff. It's I had a guest on a while back. There were two brothers. I have to get the other one on, and they've been big fans of sort of rockabilly, that sort of honky tonk, Western swing, all that kind of stuff, like the music of the 1930s and 40s, and that fusion that happened, you know, in the South, and it's sort of the other part of the whole Delta blues. Right.
That's
there was this other big influence in exactly the same place, and you know, it's sort of coming together, and that's how rock and roll got created. Right. It was these two different streams, and it's a place I have to go and visit, like the you know the whole Delta sort of you know between Nashville and Memphis, right? And you think about it, almost all the music came from there. It's into the country music, blues, soul, and then rock and roll and jazz from New Orleans, which is a little farther south, right? But still the same, like sort of gumbo, I think is what it is. It was just all these different musical cultures that all got pushed together. You know, and what brought people together was music and scenes. It's funny. It's the interview I did last week is coming out around now, and I was talking to my guest then, and what was really funny, I was saying, I've got this idea for a project that I want to do that's sort of post-apocalyptic folk music. Like it's trying to imagine what would folk music sound like after, you know, a nuclear war or whatever. Like you'd go into a bar, right? There'd still be bars, right? What would be playing? What would the band be playing?
That's quite
what
interesting.
Instruments would they be using? I find the idea of it really. It's been one of these ideas that's been gnawing at me for a while.
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of pure folk music. I do find it too folky, a little bit too twee. I do like alternative folk a lot. You know, and that's it's a broad spectrum. It's a big brush because it can be anything, but it's a little bit different. I was listening to a punk song yesterday by the Lovely Eggs, which it was absolutely amazing, an amazing tune. It was this girl singing "Don't Look at Me," basically. Look at the girl with the washing line smile, and then someone else had got sausage roll thumbs. A wheelchair heart, incredible lyrics to it, and it's kind of punk, but it's not punk enough to be punk. And at that time, I kind of thought this is merged into some sort of alternative punk. It's like it's punky, it's not poppy. It's definitely, you know, deserves its own space. I like the idea of post-apocalyptic. I was going to say punk, but folk. Certainly.
Well, not even so much folk, but folk in the tradition of like the, you know, folk before it became folk, before it was academia, you know, before the academics got involved and tried to label everything. Because, you know, it's just like the impetus of the music, right? You know, and even if you look at like Louisiana, it's the same thing. You've got all these different, like you got Zydeco, and Zydeco is sort of a merging of sort of French folk music from like the 15th, 16th century, and the African stuff, right? And then sort of the Appalachian English folk tradition. So but my whole thing too is it's like, what kind of instruments would they be using? It wouldn't be, you know, I don't want it to be a throwback to folk music, with just you know, lyrics where you're talking about a post-apocalypse, you know, like what kind of you know, would they be using synthesizers? Sure, maybe the synthesizer though, you have a hand generator for it, so it keeps, you know, it never really keeps real time, or you know what I mean, like crazy stuff like that, or these, I don't know if you've ever seen them on YouTube. There's these channels where these people build crazy instruments.
Yeah, I've seen.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what about a band with that kind of stuff, and then electrified, or just like, but something that just sounds out of place, but has a coherence to it, like you know what I mean? And that's sort of the idea. Anyway, yeah, we talk about that. I'm recruiting for it.
So, I'm in. Where do I sign? I'm sold. Simple as that. Yeah, I'll make some instrument in the garage or something. I don't know. I've never made an instrument.
Exactly. That's the spirit. That is exactly the spirit, or electrified saw.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like that's, well, what does that sound like? You know, it's like on my last release, there's that one song that's called WTF. And the reason why I called it that, it was literally, I put it down, I recorded it, and I had this really weird sort of theremin sounding synth.
Okay.
And I was playing with that, that wheel, the wheel where you can play around. And I just, oftentimes what I'll do, because I can't play anything, I'll just start recording, and I'll keep the bits that I like. So maybe I'll record for 10, 15 minutes and I'll keep 15 seconds. But if it's a good hooky 15 seconds, fine. And I had this really crazy sort of solo with this going on. And I finished the song, didn't have any lyrics. It's like, what am I going to call it? Because you got to name it something, right? And I just said, what the fuck? What was that? Right? It's like, okay, WTF, good, done.
As good as anything. But there's music's all around us. I mean, I did an interview once and said this in the interview. I can listen to a washing machine and get some rhythm from it.
That's it. You're percussion. You're going to do percussion then.
Yeah,
I love the idea. I love that washing machine.
Even in an MRI, I have been in an MRI having a scan, and I'm thinking, there's some kind of stuff going on here as it's going dum dum ch ch dum dum ch ch. And I'm thinking, I'm really liking this. It's and you get it all around, don't you?
No, you're totally into the spirit of it. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what the direction I'm thinking.
Yeah, I'd love to
Captain Beefheart for the 21st century.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'd love to make. I don't have the time, but I would love to be able to record just noises and make a whole record of just noises, whether that's the dog barking, the car going by, and like you say, you mess around with them a bit, and it can become a very melodic sound and put together. And
it works. I'm hoping to do that with the ambient project I'm doing. So I'm going to be doing it with a photographer friend of mine.
Right.
And the whole idea is, do you know anything about the liminal photography?
Nothing.
All right. Well, if you go on to like Instagram or Twitter, just look up liminal.
Okay.
And it's basically, the best way to describe liminal is Kubrick's The Shining.
Okay.
You know those crazy scenes with those hallways and that empty, empty sort of weird feeling?
Yeah.
That's very liminal.
I'm just looking at liminal images as we speak. Oh, okay. Yeah. I gotcha.
Yeah.
In fact, and the first question is, why do liminal spaces feel? And it's like that kind of, like you say, that
it's an in-between. Something's just happened or something's about to happen. It's like an in-between space, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And very much getting that feeling. So he's gonna, he's gonna take the pictures, and I'm going to do the soundtrack to it, and then we'll do an exhibition of the both. And we'll put out
that sounds really good.
Yeah, I like the idea.
It's just something new, isn't it? Something different.
It's something different, and listen, it's a good way. I figure with something like that, you make up 100 CDs, and you can probably sell 50 of them at something like that if you price them.
Yeah, I've got a. I don't bother with the CDs. I've had enough people where they've said to me, well, send me your music and send it on CD, and I'm like, this is 2022, mate. I'm not bothering to go. I haven't even got a CD player in the house, anymore.
Let alone a burner.
Yeah, exactly. If I want to listen to a CD, I have to go and sit in my car. So occasionally I will, and what I do is, if I'm going to play something in my car, like you do your phone, for example, I want to see what it sounds like on the phone, in the car, and everywhere. So I'll play it. I'll connect my phone to the Wi-Fi of the Bluetooth of the car and listen to it in the car. Oh
no, definitely.
The more the better. Send me a CD. I've always been like, I mean, I may have missed some right opportunities. I probably doubt it, to be honest, because I take it as a bit of a fob off. Send me a CD, because I'm like, well, I've got a website. You can get it online. I can send it in a million different ways.
An MP3,
a CD. It's just it's a bit antiquated. It's a bit old, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, and you don't likely. It's probably not the best place to be anyway. In that case.
No.
If they're that behind the times.
No, exactly. But I do think it is a fob off. I think.
No, definitely.
I mean, a couple of people have said no. Some of the top places still use CDs, and I'm thinking, really, do they? But apparently,
the ones where the 90-year-old founder is still clinging on and trying to stay relevant, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like the Joe Biden of music, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Goodness. So tell me, you said you're really into trance and into that whole dance scene. Well, and a dancer even beyond that. I mean, you're almost a musician when you think of bands like the Prodigy, right? Because the most famous guy wasn't even he never did any of the music really. It was just the other one. Were you a part of the whole Summer of Love? Were you the right age group to be out in the scene and going out and doing all of those those sort of pirate parties? And...
Yeah, I mean, I went to a lot of raves.
Yeah. When they were really
when they were big,
the revolution, as it were.
Yeah, right? Yeah. 15,000 people in a field.
Yeah.
And I went to a lot of raves that weren't licensed at the time. You couldn't do that in the UK. Now there'd be an absolute uproar. You get 10 people in a park now, they've called the police, and we were just talking thousands.
Well, there's a great documentary on YouTube about it, right? About that someone did. I don't know. I think it's like a more professional actual documentary.
Yeah.
About the whole period, and the authorities totally overreacted to it, and they basically had in the anti-terror squad to end them.
Well, I went to one at Wisbeach, a place. It's just a small village up the road where the Prodigy did play. Mm-hmm. They played at Wisbeach, and there was more police there than there was fans. There was hundreds of police, dogs, vans, and everything. It was the most strangest gig. And the Prodigy played, and a few other bands played there. But like I say, more police. But there was no trouble. Nothing actually happened. It was just they were just expecting it. And to be honest with you, because it was around about ecstasy, the time of ecstasy anyway, and a lot of people, there was very little trouble. There was occasionally a little bit of trouble between drug dealers and things. That were selling drugs, and I'd seen that. But other than that, there was very little violence because. Most people wanted to make love, not war.
Exactly.
Dance.
And I think it was appropriate calling it the Summer of Love.
Yeah,
because I think it was quite similar to the sort of Woodstock hippie thing, which was the same thing. There was no problems there either because they were all stoned out of their mind, right?
Yeah. I mean, I went to some incredible clubs. There's a club over at Coventry called Eclipse. It used to get about 2,000 people in this real sweat box. It was a proper sweat box. Some incredible bands in there. Yeah. And the dance floor was like a trampoline. It was like a taut rubber dance floor, so you could literally just bounce on it. And there was
a proper one. I mean, they're
bouncing on a trampoline to music, high on drugs. Life doesn't get much better than that.
No, I can only imagine.
But incredibly, I'd never change any of that time because that is really influential to me. Because I do think you pick up music as well a bit more. If you have a, I'm not gonna be pro drugs as such, but they do open the mind to different sounds, different feelings.
You definitely have a great as with all the sensitivity you'd have in terms of the feeling of your skin or the way you understand your body, which is quite different. The oral aspect of it is also equally more intense. Which is sort of, it's too bad sometimes that the music is so sort of monotone, because I can remember once, like, this is going way back into my youth, right? But I did acid years ago, and ended up listening to Frank Zappa.
Okay.
And now that was an experience.
Yeah.
Because of course, it's his music is very complicated. And he always got the best musicians, and the stuff was, at the level of like an orchestra, basically, right? He's like one of those. He was like a crazy band leader, like Count Basie or something like that. And it was right on, or James Brown. It was probably the craziest of that, sort of, finding people if they made a mistake, or that kind of thing, and listening to like his crazy stuff, stoned out of your gourd. Which was an experience that I still remember it. But it's the music, the sound, and I've luckily been able to keep some of that in terms of
with the trance, when you've got the music going, and it is that, like you say, very repetitive. And there were times when I actually thought, even then, it could be your mum doing the hoovering. It literally could, because it was literally. But then when that melodic high then comes in and the music then stops, it kind of emphasizes it even more, because sometimes less is more, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
So you've got this monotonous kind of thing going on, and then all of a sudden, it gets a little bit quicker, a little bit harder, and there's either a drop coming or
and what I have to say with dance music, with electronic dance music, what they have is the drop. The drop is what makes it. Right. And that build up and down and up and down. And I guess that's more
highs, big time drops. To a beat. You can't go wrong.
It's the one thing I love. I do drops in my music all the time. I love that. I love having bridges. I've been lucky enough with a few songs where it goes off on a tangent at the end. A little bit, you add that extra little bit to it that makes it move in a different direction than it had been going before. And
what about endings, Martin? What about endings to songs? I'm always interested in endings to songs, because
tell me, either you end right away, or once
I hate a lazy fade.
Some fades. It
no, you can't do lazy fades. It's just...
no, I wouldn't do a lazy fade. What I mean, oftentimes what I'll do is I'll start pulling things back. And then leave just one thing going, and then maybe start playing around with that, right? With with like delays and but I love the idea of showing the structure of a song sometimes. And varying, and the big thing that I always say is I always lean into what's weakest. Like whatever in the song's not working, that's where you have to put your energy. And generally that's where the lemonade gets made. Because you need lemons, right?
There's a t-shirt there.
But you know what I mean? But often what becomes the best part of the song was the part you had the most trouble with.
Definitely.
And that's where the hook is, or mistakes. I'm always looking for mistakes, because the mistake's the hook. It's the one where you're playing it over and over again, and you get it wrong once, but it sounds better. And it's like, hey, stop a second.
There's an old song called "One More Night." I don't know if you know it, and it's basically he just wants one more night with his girlfriend. I think it is a 70s song, and the song kind of goes through, and he goes, "One more night, give me one more night," and then the song ends, and the telephone rings. And someone picks up the telephone, and he's on the other end of the telephone saying, "I'll do all the mopping." And it's just a brilliant song. It's just
great. I love kitsch too sometimes. I loved all that bubblegum stuff in the 70s, like the really, or I'm a big fan of Boney M.
Well,
genius, absolute musical genius, right? But they're cheesy. But he leaned so much into it, right, that it became like authentic again. Apocalyptic will do a cover of like Rasputin or something.
Definitely. I think that's been done. I think that's just been done over here. They did a re-release of it, but even the Venga Boys, it's cheesy, but it's good. It is good stuff, and I like it because, like you say, it's very melodic. But I mean, Boney M is
genius. It's like Ma Baker. What a great song.
I'm a big fan of Lonnie Donegan, massive fan of Lonnie Donegan, and King of Skiffle, really. And again, really catchy, quite cheesy songs, but just absolute quality. Well, Born Again, if he was producing sort of stuff now, I think he'd be doing just as well now.
Probably. Probably if there was a place for it in the music industry.
I think you'd have to do it a bit different.
That's the big thing. When we were younger, there were music stations everywhere. Now, how many are really left? You know, it's not that much anymore. Or it's all these little genres, and they play the same 50 songs. You know,
it's even hard finding something now, Martin, even on Spotify and things like that. If I'm looking for a specific type of music and you use the search bar, the algorithms give you its idea of what that is, which is usually far removed from what you're looking for, but much more towards what they want to push towards your ears, isn't it? You know, I find that quite frustrating at times. You know,
definitely.
It can be really difficult to find what you're looking for because there's just so much out there, but there's not even a good search mechanism. It's all kind of leaned towards algorithms, isn't it? You know, whatever that is, whatever that word actually means or is, it sounds great, but I think that means I'm going to push you into something that I want you to hear, basically, or see.
No, definitely. But I think as well as it's just part and parcel with the whole atomization. It's like what is like how would you, I guess with you at least your music's acoustic, so people can say, oh, it's folk music or it's alt folk.
I struggle to put it into a pot sometimes. People want to stick it, especially on YouTube. You know, you have to stick some labels on it so that they will. And sometimes I really struggle, even with my acoustic stuff. Alt folk.
You're not really alt folk.
No, I'm not. You know. I haven't really. I often say I'm a bit of a kind of a nomad when it comes to genre. Really, I'm not making new genres, am I? But at the same time, it's really tough. And same with Spotify. Whenever I release a single,
tell me about it.
2 hours thinking,
when you're uploading it, what category
are you in? Where am I?
Exactly.
It's impossible, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then after a while, I think it doesn't really matter because it's never going to get into a bloody Spotify editorial or anything like that, is it? It's irrelevant.
Listen, I've got a few Spotify curators who have, you know, picked up songs and they're in their playlists and stuff like that. So it'll happen, you know. Okay. But the biggest issue is getting stuff out there. And I see like myself, I mean, you're good in terms of promoting yourself enough that, you know, it isn't looking at your Spotify catalog and it's all 20 plays from your friends and family type thing.
No. So I worked hard on that.
Yeah. No. I think we both have. I mean, most of the people we know are working hard at it. And I think it's important though too, because it shows there is momentum out there and it's just a matter of, you know.
Oh, but I love that. I love looking at the Spotify stats. And if someone's played me in Namibia, and I'm thinking, who's played me in Namibia? What are they listening to? You know, and that kind of makes it all a little bit worth it, doesn't it? You think, wow, you know, and occasionally I will get an email from somebody, you know, especially on the website, they'll just leave a message saying, oh, I love him, Sold My Soul. It's one of my favorite songs, blah, blah, blah. You know, and that is why I do it. No other reason, really. I mean, yes, for myself and to get it out. And if I didn't create, I'd probably explode or something. But I'd probably explode in a C chord or something. I think maybe C sharp or something like that. It would definitely be a, you know, a nice melodic noise.
See, I always tend towards the minors. I don't know why it is, but it's the minor chords.
Sad songs, you see, aren't they, Martin? You know, I need to stay away from them because I'll just write sad stuff.
And I don't seem to have that problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, it's funny though with the Spotify stats. I know what you mean because I was looking at them a while back, and I think it was for that WTF song. And you know, you get to see people's personal playlists and stuff. And there was one listener, I'd love to find out who it was, that had to have played the song 1,000 times. And it's like, wow, you really like that one. It's like, you know, drop me a note.
Yeah,
you know,
I like that.
You know, it's interesting. It'd be interesting to find out who it was. You know what I mean? Because they obviously really like.
How do you get on with Apple Music? Because I find Apple Music, I don't know, if I get 30 plays off Apple Music, I don't put a lot into it.
I've been pushing myself with that a lot more too. And the good thing with Apple Music is that they payouts much better.
Oh, okay.
You know, I mean, it's just getting onto some playlists.
Yeah, I've not put a lot of effort into it.
Yeah,
I've been putting all my effort into other things. You know.
Other
areas.
But the nice thing there is that actually it pays for itself. generally, because you don't need 100,000 plays to make $5 like on Spotify.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
it actually pays enough that you can pay for the subscription.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To make it worthwhile, because then you can create playlists and all that kind of stuff and actually have the full featured. So I'll pay for that one and not for Spotify because I don't know if Spotify's worth it. Not to have the
Spotify.
ads, you know.
See, I do all right out of Spotify. You know, I earn a couple of £100 a month out of it, which more than pays for the you know, and it does okay. I get a lot of followers.
Yep.
I do it on YouTube. I do okay on Twitter. I do all right on Instagram. You know, but I do not do all right on Apple. It's
interesting.
It is weird. But then I don't do anything with it. So perhaps I should do more again with it. Like you say, get on a few playlists. You know, tweet more Apple stuff, because I tend to just leave it out because I think, well, what's the point? I only get a handful of people that listen to it, so I tend not to bother. But like we said, there's a lot to this game, isn't there?
Oh no, I know. And the problem is like I'm more interested in doing music or doing video creation or doing whatever than doing the promotion.
Yeah.
But if you don't do the promotion, you're sunk.
You don't no one hears it. But then it's this big vicious circle, isn't it? You know, and then I spend time doing that, and then I get down. I'm not suicidal or anything like that, but I will get down and depressed about the whole situation and the amount of effort I'm putting in sometimes for the amount of reward that I get back, that I just take my foot off the gas. So at the moment in Twitter, I've kind of took my foot off the pedal. I've just kind of stepped back a bit because, you know, to get that engagement constantly, get that interest. It's draining.
Oh, of course it is
across social media. So you know, I'm fine if you've got someone who's you know, you can employ someone to do all that PR. I've just had a friend of mine. He's just put an album together, and it's cost him a fortune. It's cost him about $5,000. About 10 years of writing, 4 songs. Went to a recording studio. Doesn't play an instrument. He's a bit more of a rapper, so he had to kind of get some music people in. He got someone in. A singer, he did this, he did that, so he spent a fortune on it, and I spent a lot of time chatting with him, and I'm like, you really have to work hard on the promo of this, you know, or outsource it and spend another couple of grand, because it's quite good. It is quite, you know, it's pretty tight, and I really do like it, and he deserves something from it. But you know, because he's done nothing and doesn't understand about the playlisting and, you know, getting out there and just constantly bashing on about it on every medium that you can, he's only had a handful of listeners. Yeah, you know, which I think is a real shame. It's an absolute shame.
Yeah, well, but that's if you don't. I think it's persistence with all of this more than anything else. You know.
Yeah, and I think being a nice guy helps. Like, so I will actively help new musicians, because I remember.
What it was like.
I'm not a new musician, because I kind of still am, but I'm kind of I've transgressed a bit from there, so I do understand it. You know, 3 years on of what I've done and how I've done it, and I often talk to people about unconscious knowledge, Martin. How much we know that we don't know, that we don't think we know, but we have gained an immense amount of information about mixing, mastering, social media, songwriting. And then we all go, well, I don't know anything. Well, actually, you bloody do.
I mean, that's the two hemispheres. That's the two hemispheres of the brain, right?
Yeah. Okay.
You know, in the sense that we've got our sort of rational mind, where you think you know what you think you know, right?
Yeah.
And then the other side, which is the more subconscious, that picks up a lot more and has a very different perspective on things. And I think that that's where a lot of the creativity comes from, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it comes from dreams, right? It comes from working things out and then having this intuition. I don't know about yourself, but sometimes I've absolutely astonished myself in, you know, how a song came about, or lyrics. Like, I've literally had songs where I've written the lyrics as I'm singing the song.
Yeah.
You know, and it just all comes out. And then you realize after, but you've been thinking about it, or I've been listening to the music over and over and over again, so that when I finally come to do the singing, I have it in my mind, but not consciously, where I've written it down and edited it and made sure it all made sense or whatever. It just sort of comes out.
Yeah.
And where's that from? Who's that muse? You know?
Yeah, I mean, we know stories of musicians, don't we? Paul McCartney, he's woke up in the middle of the night, wrote it on a bloody box of matches or something, and then the next thing it's a hit. I haven't quite had that, but I do agree that there are times when I'm feeling far more creative, far more creative. And like I said to you, usually to me that's in times of stress, worry. I'm not. If you say to me, right, Joe, write me a song now, I'm probably going to struggle. Probably a bit like if you went to a comedian, isn't it? Tell me a joke, make me laugh.
Yes. Although I'll tell you, I'll say to myself, all right, I need to start writing a song, and I'll start. And generally lately, at least, it's been I'll pick something out on a keyboard, on a piano.
Yeah.
And once I find something where I say, oh, that's an interesting progression of chords, I'm off to the races, right?
Yeah.
And I'll record that and have it in MIDI, and then I'll start playing around with it. And then you can construct from it, right? And then you do your variation. And
pretty much the same.
Yeah.
I have an idea.
It'll be interesting with a guitar to do the same thing, because I'm going to be just as lazy with a guitar. I'll learn whatever the
with the guitar. I'll just do riffs. I'll just mess around constantly with riffs from chords, trying different things until something sticks. I think, I kind of like that.
Yeah, and then you put two or three of them together, and you're off to the races, right?
So
and then that'll give you other ideas. Or with lyrics, the best for me is I've got like a little notepad, and I'm constantly writing down things I hear, little snippets.
Mine goes in my phone.
A little phrase, something that clicks off, and that'll be how a lyric will start.
Yeah.
It'll be something that's catchy, like the sound of it, the way the syllables sound together, that kind of thing. And then often when I'm writing, I don't rhyme, I just count syllables, right?
Yeah.
And if there's the same amount of syllables from one line to the next, you can make it work if you sing.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to be this rhymey, sort of. It's done. How many times can you rhyme love with glove?
Gov.
Or gov. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Whereas if the number of syllables are right, you can sing it in melody, right? It's a melody.
I quite like a nearly rhyme though. I do quite like it when someone's done something, they've put that in there because it's a nearly rhyme. It doesn't quite rhyme.
Oh yeah, well nearly rhymes don't count.
Yeah.
But anyway. So we've gone well over an hour at this point.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you the last question that I always ask everyone before we close out. So what was the first music that you actually bought yourself with your own money growing up?
Okay.
What was your first your first purchase? Which was obviously the one that drove you to start your interest in music.
I don't know whether it started my interest in music because it would have been something like Cameo, Word Up.
Yeah.
From when was that? Probably I was quite late into music because my sister and my brother had, and like I said, they were older than me. They were constantly playing music, whether it was Bat Out of Hell, as we said earlier, Rocky Horror Picture Show, whatever.
Yeah, so you were sort of freeloading on them.
Exactly. I wasn't necessarily buying it, but I was certainly listening to it in the background. Yeah. But that was certainly
the first you actually put out your allowance money.
Yeah, I think it would have. I mean, that would have. I think it was a picture disc as well of Cameo Word Up. I don't know if you remember. He used to wear this
I remember the picture and the colored discs.
Yeah, he had like a red leather cod piece that you wouldn't want to be seen in today at all.
That's a catchy song though. I love Cameo. I love that period of funk where they discovered synthesizers.
Yeah.
And dealt with them completely differently than sort of new wave. I think that was the most interesting thing, right? The funk people got synthesizers and it was a completely different experience. Them and who else? Gap Band.
Yeah.
Were quite good. Had some really catchy stuff.
There was
stuff that was really very interesting electronic music. But different than, the sort of more mechanical European sounding stuff.
It
was always more of a, you know what I mean? You didn't get that groove that you got from a song like What Up? And it just, and it led to Prince almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
It was like
I
the next
was quite a
logical
big Prince fan.
progression from that.
You know, I was a big Prince fan when I was younger.
Yeah,
So,
well, he was a musical genius.
Yeah, I had one of your relatives, Buddy Holly's. I had Buddy Holly's greatest hits from quite a. You know, I remember having that stolen out my car. I had a lot of someone broke into my car, smashed a window
to steal it,
stole all my tapes because they were obviously CDs, tapes.
That's terrible. Yeah,
so they were all stolen, and they stole a pool cue, and then I had to drive home, and I got stopped by the police with a broken window, saying, you know, well, why are you driving? Have you got any ID? I haven't got any ID on me, and the only thing I had was a parking ticket. They'd left a parking ticket in the
they'd stolen everything. Oh my
glove
God.
compartment. Yeah, so I showed this police officer the parking ticket. I said, this is all I've got with my name on. He did reply to me, are you taking the piss? I said, no, literally that is all I have, you know. So, and then I had to go and show my documents the next day at the
police station.
I had a lot of records stolen there, OMD and stuff like that, you know, that was you know,
well, there's another great band.
So amazing, truly amazing, but very
that first record is just absolutely stunning.
Yeah, you know, the gay and things
Joan
like
of Arc. What a stunning! Like, where the hell did that come from? You know, that is from another. You know.
Yeah.
It's like that first ELO record. I find that's another one where it was both of the influences before it sort of broke up and became the Jeff Lynne project. Yeah. Right? Yeah. But that first thing where it's him and also what's his name? Roy Wood.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you see any of the early concerts where Roy Wood is playing the electrified cello?
No.
Oh my God, that sound, unbelievable. Like they are so, it's like if you imagine a classical orchestra that goes punk.
Oh, okay.
That's how much energy and, you know, like just like drive and like it's just like in your face, loud, like, you know, like early, like heavy, deep purple type thing, but it's with that electric cello. Yeah. So anyway, it's
I'm a big Elvis fan as well. Big Elvis fan, Martin.
Elvis, yes. Yeah. So Elvis
he loved Elvis. So, you know, we had I used to watch a lot of Elvis films. Even the wife, when we first moved in our first house, we used to have a Saturday night Elvis night where we'd grab a film and grab a takeaway and sit and watch an Elvis film, you know. So,
If he was the king, right?
Without a doubt.
Great voice, but that early Elvis, though, wow.
Great voice.
That was sensational. You can see why he was such a big thing, because he was, you know,
stunningly good looking. I mean, I don't think there's been many people as good looking as him ever. No. He was feminine in that day and age when it wasn't cool to be feminine. He kind of had very
but then it changed around the minute everyone realized he got all the girls, and then it wasn't that feminine.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the craziest one like that is I'm a big fan of Roxy Music.
Okay,
so one last little story before I let you go, and I'm sure the reason why Brian Eno left Roxy Music, right? Was that he was pulling more groupies than Brian Ferry was.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
Because he was so, you know, that period where he's wearing the feather boas and, like, you know, he's making David Bowie circa Ziggy Stardust look butch.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
From what he's always been straight, right? He was never gay or anything like that. But supposedly at that period, women were literally throwing themselves at him.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Much more than, you know, like, you know, Brian Ferry.
Yeah.
Brian Ferry, you know, he had all these groupies. They were all serious young men.
Yeah.
you know, who later formed bands. You know,
we may need to get these beards off, Martin. We might.
I'm well beyond that at this time. You know. I'm you know, like we'd said before, I'm more interested in being the JJ Cale to Eric Clapton, than having to go out and tour and do it myself.
Oh, goodness!
I couldn't take it at this age. You know what I mean? It's too much work.
Yeah, absolutely. As you can see, I've got a face for radio, really. So you know.
Exactly. I think we both do.
Freaking do.
Anyway, Joe, pleasure. Stay on the line, and we'll say our goodbyes.
Yeah. Cheers.
Anyway. Thanks to everyone for joining us. If I can get this going. I don't know how we're gonna. It's so funny. Where is it? Oh, there we go. I'll tell the last story. I have to, between my light, the camera, and the microphone, I don't have any more USB ports on my laptop.
Okay.
So I'm using the little mouse pad as my mouse, and the thing went to sleep, and it's like, where's my mouse? Anyway, thanks to everyone for watching. Please subscribe, like, comment if you want, and see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.